Hey guys, so this is Cassie Ventura day 3. I want to apologize first of all because I'm very late uploading this, but as you guys know, we are covering the trial for several hours during the day, in addition to trying to get those transcripts for the day of the person for that day and trying to see what we can review the very little bit from them later on that evening. So it does take me a minute to catch up on the ones that I need to do. So that is my attempt. Now, if you have not watched the last 2 videos on this, I'm going to link them in the description box so you guys can follow through. The thumbnails look something like this and that. Check it out. And yeah, let's get into Cassie Ventura day 3, where she is testifying a full day. Let's go. Miss Johnson for the government is doing the direct with Cassie. Miss Ventura, I just handed you 2 devices. Do you recognize those devices? Yes. Okay, the first one is marked Government Exhibit B. Do you recall discussing Government Exhibit B yesterday? Yes. And how do you strike that? What is on the drive at Government Exhibit B? It has a message and photos from my device that I gave to the government. Okay, and you testified yesterday that you've reviewed the contents of Government B, correct? Yes. Okay, and how do you know that you've reviewed the context of Government B? I initialed it. Government exhibits are offered. The court speaks. Do you understand that there to be any objections of the admissions of these exhibits? Ms. Johnson speaks. I do not believe so. That's why I just conferred with counsel. Okay. So a list of exhibits are submitted. The court asks if there's any objection to any of these exhibits. Mrs. Stavio for the defense. Can we just have one moment, Your Honor? Yes. Ms. Garagos for the defense speaks. 324 was already admitted, Your Honor. The rest, we have no objection. Okay, so the court admits all the exhibits. Okay, and Ms. Johnson continues with her questioning. Ms. Ventura, I'm directing your attention now to the second drive that is in front of you that's marked Government Exhibit BX. Yes. Do you recognize that drive? Yes. What is on that drive? Similar content from my devices? Have you reviewed the material on that drive? Yes. Does the drive also contain enhanced video images from the videos that were found on your devices? Yes. Okay. How do you know that that's what you reviewed is what's on that drive? I've signed that. I saw it. Do you see your initials on the drive in front of you that's marked for identification as Government Exhibit BX? Yes. Okay, so more exhibits are submitted and there's no objection to the exhibits. Miss Ventura, you can put the drives aside now. Before we move on now, we left off yesterday. Have you testified yesterday that you use aliases Jackie Star sometimes? Do you remember that testimony? Yes. Are there any other aliases that you have used? Personally, Veronica Bang was one I used for many years, and Anita Crawford. Just a few points. I want to clarify from yesterday. Yesterday, you testified about an incident that involved Suge Knight. Do you recall that testimony? Yes. And after D-Rock came to the house that night, you recall you testified that you saw him and Sean pack up. What did they pack up? Well, they got dressed quickly and packed up guns that were in the safe, but they put them on their bodies. Also, yesterday, you testified that Sean wanted you to clarify if the escort was safe and not a cop. Do you recall that testimony? Yes. Did Sean ask you once or more than once to confirm that an escort was not a cop? More than once. Approximately how many times did he ask you to confirm the escort was not a cop? Over the whole relationship, roughly maybe like 6 to 8 times? Not a lot. Did he ever tell you to say anything in particular to the escort to make sure that they were not a cop? I would lead with the fact that I wasn't a cop. Is that something that Sean told you to say? Yeah. Ms. Ventura, when we broke yesterday, we were talking about an incident at the Intercontinental. Do you remember that testimony? Yes. During that testimony, you said that you did not fight back when Sean hit you. When you're speaking about the incident at the Intercontinental that we were speaking about? Or were you speaking in general about incidences in your relationship? I was speaking specifically about the Intercontinental. And generally in your relationship, were there times when you tried to fight back when Sean was violent with you? Yeah, yep. What happened when you fought back? I did that more on the earlier side of the relationship. So I learned that it could escalate the fight more, make it worse for myself. Sometimes it would slow him down and he would stop. But yeah, not usually. When you when you say make it worse for yourself, what do you mean by that? Just make him more violent, make him more stronger, want to push me harder in the situation. Objection from Mrs. Stavio, the defense. To specifics as to the state of mind. Court says it's overruled. How did you observe Sean react when you fought back? It varied. It usually could be anywhere from just being surprised that I was actually fighting back, so shocked, and more anger, more frustration is what I saw. Miss Johnson speak. Miss Gavin, could you please pull exhibits? Ms. Ventura, picking up where we left off yesterday, do you recognize what's depicted in Government's Exhibit 10, C103 at timestamp over 1 minute and 43 seconds? Yes, that's the Intercontinental City in LA. Okay, and who, if anyone, is depicted in this timestamp? I'm in the corner, in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Yep, and in the mirror. And where is the mirror in this image? Across from me, down the hall. Okay, Miss Gavin, can you play 143 to 146, please? Video plays. Who entered the elevator lobby during that clip? Miss Ventura. That's Sean. What, if anything, is in his hands? It doesn't appear to have anything in his hands. Okay, Miss Gavin, can you please play 159? Video plays. Miss Ventura, are you able to tell me from this pause if Sean has anything in his hands at 159? At 1 minute 59. Yeah, it looks like a phone that lit up, I think. Whose phone is in his hands? I think that's my phone. Yeah. How did Sean get your phone? Well, he took all my stuff. So, okay, Miss Gavin, please play at minute stamp 2 minutes 10 seconds. Video plays. Where does Sean initially head in that clip? In what direction? It's like he heads towards the room. And where does he end up at the end of the clip? Sitting in a chair across from the mirror in my by the window. And you are visible in this particular timestamp? No, not in the timestamp. Okay. Where are you relative to Sean right now? I am, if you're looking at the screen on the left, just behind the wall. Directing your attention to the area of the video where Sean is sitting that's visible in the mirror. Miss Gavin, can you please play until 2:14? Video plays. Miss Ventura, what, if anything, is Sean recorded throwing in that clip? There was a vase with flowers in it. And what did you recall about what happened with Sean throwing the vase with the flowers in it? I just remember it coming towards me. I didn't get hit. I remember it hitting the wall, but he was just yelling at me and threw it at me. When you say he was yelling at you, what, if anything, was he saying to you during the events depicted on this video? I mean, I don't remember exactly like his words, word for word, but I'm sure he was calling me out of my name. Objection, Mrs. Stavio for the defense. Speculation. Court says that's sustained. Jury should disregard the witness' last statement. Miss Johnson continues. Let's play until the end of the video. Video plays. You can pause there, Miss Gavin. Miss Ventura, what are you doing with your arms in that clip? At the end, I'm putting it up. I'm backing away from him when he's walking towards me. And you could play the last few seconds, Miss Gavin. Video plays. You can take that down. If you can pull up another government exhibit, go to timestamp 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Miss Ventura, again, which direction are you looking at in this view of the hallway? That's the hallway that goes to the room we were staying in, and the elevator is on the right. Okay. Miss Gavin plays the video and pauses again. Pause right there. Ms. Ventura, who do you recognize in this image at 3 minutes and 21 seconds? Me and security from the hotel? In which direction are you walking? Opposite of the room. Ms. Gavin, can you jump forward to 5 minutes and 20 seconds? Video plays. Can you play from 5 minutes 20 seconds to 5 minutes 31 seconds? Okay. In which direction are you headed now? Towards the room. What, if anything, do you have in your hand? I don't see anything yet. Did I have my phone yet? Okay, let's jump ahead to 6 minutes. 6 minutes and 15 seconds. Video plays. In which direction are you walking in that clip? To the elevator. Where are you walking from? From the room. What, if anything, are you holding in your hands? My bag and my purse. Without guessing as to what Sean might have said during this incident with Sean and the elevator lobby, was Sean speaking to you? Yes. What, if anything, do you remember about the substance of what he was saying to you? That I wasn't going to leave him there? Yeah, that I couldn't. Okay, Miss Gavin, I take that down. Miss Ventura, were you eventually able to leave the Intercontinental Hotel? Yes. Where did you go once you left? I went to my apartment that was close by. Which apartment were you living at this time? That was 875 COMBS. How did you get from the hotel to your apartment? I took an Uber. Okay, Ms. Gavin, Your Honor, may I have a moment to confer with the defense counsel? You may. Okay, Ms. Gavin, could you please pull up for identification? More exhibits are pulled up. Ms. Ventura, do you recognize what this document is? Yes. What is it? It's a text message between me and Sean. And how do you recognize it? Our names and phones numbers are on it. Is it true and accurate text message between you and Sean? Yes. Government offers exhibits. Okay. Mrs. Stavio for the defense. One moment, please, Your Honor. No objection. All right. Exhibits are received and admitted. Okay. Ms. Ventura, directing your attention to the first page on the left. Who are the participants in this chat? That's me and Sean. Okay, Ms. Gavin, can you please put some pages 2 and 3 side by side? All right. Ms. Ventura, what's the day and time that this message is sent? March 5th, 2016. And who sent this message? This is from Sean to me. Can you please read this message? Call me. Okay, Ms. Gavin, can you take that down? And Ms. Ventura, can you read all the messages on page 3? Yo, please call me. I got 6 kids. Please call me. Okay. Ms. Ventura, can you please read all the messages on page 4? Yo, please call me. I'm surrounded. I'm sorry. Call me. For my kids, help. On page 5 on the right, directing your attention to the top green message. Who sends that message? Me. What is your response? Put the robe on. Why did you tell Sean to put the robe on? Because he was running around in a towel and I was just looking out. Can you continue reading the messages in blue? It says call me and then call now. Who sent those messages to you? From Sean. Okay. Ms. Ventura, page 6, which is on a right-hand side of your screen. Ms. Gavin, please blow up the messages. Who sent these green messages? I did. Can you read your responses? I went and checked everything and spoke to security. Jules left, so you're good. And as long as you don't disturb the other guests, they'll leave you be. Peace. You can take that down, Ms. Gavin. Ms. Ventura, can you remind the jury who Jules is? Jules was one of the regular escorts that we use for freak-offs. Was Jules' presence at the Intercontinental on March 5th, 2016? Yes. And where, if you know, was Jules during the incident that was depicted on the videos that we watch? Jules was inside of the hotel room. Okay. More exhibits are shown. Ms. Ventura, yesterday you identified this individual as Jules. Is this the same Jules that you were just talking about? Yes. Okay. What, if any, communication did you have with Jules after you left the Intercontinental that day in an Uber? I actually don't remember having any conversations with them until there was like another freak off, honestly. Okay. More exhibits are pulled. Miss Ventura, what's depicted in government's exhibit B-606 and B-607? That's me with a selfie of a flat lip wearing sunglasses. When was this taken? It was taken in the Uber on my way to my apartment. Okay, after you left the Intercontinental Hotel? Yes. With that device, with what device did you take this photograph? I took it with one of my phones. And why are you wearing sunglasses in this photograph? Because I had a black eye underneath. I was trying to cover it. And what injuries, other injuries, if any, can you see in these images? Just my fat lip. Okay. Exhibits are taken down and more exhibits are shown. Ms. Ventura, directing your attention, we previously looked at 2 green bubbles at the top of the screen, directing your attention to the blue bubble underneath. It on the left-hand side. Who sent this message? Sean to me. What does it say? Call me now. And Ms. Gavin, please enlarge the messages. Ms. Ventura, can you read these messages? Call me. The cops are here. You're going to abandon me all alone? Call me, please. When Sean said to you on the top messages, on the top message, call me, the cops are here, what was your reaction? I didn't know. I don't think I really cared in that moment. I just wanted to be home and get away. And you're aware either way if the police showed up to the Intercontinental Hotel? No, I'm not. Okay. Miss Gavin provides more exhibits. So after the messages we just read where Sean says, call me, the cops are here, how do you respond? I say I have a premiere Monday for the biggest thing I've done in my life. I have a black eye and a fat lip. It was time for me to go. You are sick for thinking it's okay to do what you've done. Please stay far away from me. Okay, you could take that down. Miss Ventura, can you read the rest of the blue bubble? Yeah. Call me. Help. I'm about to be arrested. Thanks. Who sent you those messages? Sean. Okay, Miss Gavin, more exhibits. Miss Ventura, can you pick up reading Sean's messages on these, the blue bubbles on these pages? If you don't pick up, you'll never hear my voice again. Damn, I would never ignore your calls. Call now, please, please. Then the top message on this page. I'm getting arrested. Miss Ventura, are you aware if Sean was arrested for this incident? No, I don't know. I don't think so. Okay. And how did you respond to his messages? I'm getting arrested. Plugged in my phone and going to bed. You should do the same. Okay, you can take that down, Miss Gavin. Miss Ventura, you testified earlier that you left the Intercontinental in an Uber to go to your apartment. Is that right? Yes. Who, if anyone, was at your apartment when you arrived home? My friend, Carrie Morgan, was there. How did Carrie react when she saw you? She was super upset. She had seen me with black eyes and busted lips before, so she was pretty upset, and she wanted to call the cops. Are you aware if Miss Morgan did call the police? I am. She did. How are you aware of that? Because she called them in front of me, and they came. You mentioned the police came to your apartment. Is that right? Mm-hmm. What interaction, if any, did the police have at your apartment? I answered a couple of questions, but they wanted me to say who I was talking about, and I wouldn't. So they left. Why would you not say who you were talking about? Just in that moment, didn't want to hurt him that way. Just too much going on, and it was a lot for me in that moment, and I wasn't ready. And who were you talking about whose name you would not disclose? Sean. Did you want to protect Sean? Of course. Yeah. Yeah, of course. After you returned to your apartment on March 5th, 2016, who else, if anyone, tried to come over to your apartment? Sean did. What, if anything, do you recall about that? I don't know how he got there, but this was the apartment where I lived on the 17th floor, so he was just trying to get in and get to me too. And objection from Mrs. Stavio, the defense. Your Honor, can I ask a clarifying question? Court says yes. Ms. Ventura, how do you know Sean was trying to get into the apartment? Because I was notified by his assistant. Who told you Sean was trying to get into your apartment? Well, Carrie, because she was there, and Christina Coram. What, if anything, could you hear while this was happening? Just chaos outside of the door, banging, kicking, yelling. Could you hear Sean's voice? Yeah. And where was his voice relevant to your apartment? Where was his voice coming from relative to your apartment? Outside of the apartment door, was Sean able to get inside your apartment on March 5th, 2016, after the incident at the Intercontinental? He was not. And can you describe how the noise outside your door sounded? Him trying to, well, yelling and again banging. It was pretty normal, but just commotion in a very private building. When you say banging, what, if anything, on the door? Yeah. Okay, so you heard banging on your front door? Yes? Yes. You also mentioned that you heard from Sean's assistant that day? Yes. Was that Miss Coram? Yes. Besides Miss Coram, what, if any, contact did you have with any other employees of Sean's that day? I spoke to D-Rock. We ended up going to his house later on that day. Can you remind me what D-Rock was? D-Rock was a security and a close friend. You mentioned you went to D-Rock's house later that day. Can you explain to the jury why you went to D-Rock's house? Well, living in LA, I really didn't have a whole lot of people, especially family. And D-Rock and his wife were just always there for me. So I ended up going over there to feel safe. Tried to. How long did Miss Morgan stay with you? She got a flight back to New York that evening, and by the time I got to the apartment, it was like afternoon, maybe like 2 o'clock. When did you see Sean next? I saw him next when he came to D Rock's house at the end of that night. We had been texting. And where did you go over D Rock's house? After D Rock's house, I went to Sean's house and I did a fitting for the movie. Okay. More exhibits are entered. Miss Ventura, do you recognize who is depicted in government's exhibit B-627A? Yeah, that's me in Sean's bedroom in LA. How do you recognize this? It's what I wore to the premiere. Is this a true and accurate photograph of you in Sean's bedroom? Yes. Okay. Government exhibits. No objection from the defense. And government exhibits are entered. Miss Ventura, what are you wearing in this photo? I'm wearing a gown and sunglasses. Why are you wearing sunglasses? To cover up my eye. What happened to your eye? I got hit in the face. So I had a black eye. And where was this photograph taken? Inside of Sean's bedroom on Mapleton Drive. Okay. Miss Ventura, when you were talking about Sean trying to get into your apartment after the incident at the Intercontinental, you describe banging and yelling as normal. What do you mean by normal? He showed up unannounced quite a bit when my friends were there, and when he did, it was a similar thing. If he doesn't have a key, he would just be trying to get inside. What do you mean by similar thing? An incident where he was angry, coming from somewhere being angry. Okay. More exhibits are published and pulled. Ms. Ventura, what, if any, visible injuries did you have on the day of your premiere? Visible, I had bruises on my body that weren't completely covered by makeup. I had quite a bit of makeup on my face. Where is this particular image? Government exhibit B-604 taken. That's at the beginning of the premiere of the movie that I was doing. And you mentioned that you had quite a bit of makeup on. Mm-hmm. What was the makeup covering? The makeup was covering a bruising on my face. You mentioned other bruising. Miss Gavin, can you zoom in on Miss Ventura's shoulder? What, if any, other bruising was visible? You're referencing this. I had several bruises on my leg, but I changed into a different outfit. Okay, can you take that down? More government exhibits are shown. Miss Ventura, do you recognize who is depicted in this exhibit? Yep, that's me and Sean at the after party for the premiere. How do you recognize this picture? Because we were together for a minute. I remember it. And is this a fair and accurate photograph of you and Sean at the after party for the premiere? Yeah. The government offers this exhibit 9Q-101. No objection from the defense. Exhibits are admitted. Ms. Gavin, please publish this exhibit for the jury. Ms. Ventura, you had mentioned a moment ago that you had changed dresses during the evening. Is that right? Yes. What dress is this that you're wearing? That's the after party dress that I had changed in, like a popcorn closet at the movie theater. Yeah, my second dress. And you mentioned earlier that what, if any, bruises were visible on your leg in this dress? You could see one of them there, but I had a larger one on my thigh and upper thigh. I had another one somewhere else around my shin, calf muscle. Which bruise can you see in this photo? Can you? Oh, I could see it on my right shin. Okay, you could take that down, Ms. Kevin. Ms. Ventura, next to you on the witness stand, there's a binder. Can you please look through those photos? All of them, and let me know who you recognize in the photographs to be. Okay. Have you looked at the binder? Yes. Who do you recognize at those photographs to be depicting? These are the escorts that we use for freak-offs. And are those true and accurate photos of escorts that you use for freak-offs? Yeah. Okay, Your Honor, more exhibits are offered from the government, no objection from the defense, and the exhibits are admitted. Okay, Ms. Gavin pulls more exhibits for evidence. Ms. Ventura, what do you know the individuals depicted in government's exhibit 2A-617 as? Ash. How did you hire Ash? Ash was hired through Garen at Cowboys for Angels. And in what cities did you and Sean use Ash? We saw him in LA, maybe Vegas and Ibiza. More exhibits are taken down and pulled up. Ms. Ventura, how do you know the individuals depicted in government's exhibit 2A-602? He was an escort that we hired through Garen, I believe. Do you know his name? No. And in what cities did you see this escort? New York. Okay, take that down, Ms. Gavin. Ms. Ventura, do you know the individuals depicted in 2A-619 as Islander? And how do you know Islander? He was hired for freak-offs, and I think he was on the site Latin Men. And in what city was Islander hired? City or cities was Islander hired for freak-offs? Mostly LA. Were there any other cities, if you remember? Maybe Vegas? I'm not sure. Okay. Ms. Gavin, take those down. Ms. Ventura, do you know the individuals depicted in this exhibit as? I know him as Tommy, and he was hired by Garen in Miami, I believe. Okay, take those down. Ms. Ventura, do you know the individual depicted in government exhibit 2A-634 as? I can't remember his name, but I know that he came through Garen as well. And what city was this escort used? Mainly Los Angeles, I think. Yeah. When you say mainly Los Angeles, do you recall any other cities? Possibly he flew out to another place. I'm not 100% sure. Okay, you could take that down. Can you pull government exhibit into evidence? What do you know the individuals depicted in this exhibit as? I know him as Skylar. And how do you know Skylar? Through Cowboys for Angels. In what cities do you use Skylar? LA? Can you take that down? What do you know the individual depicted in government's exhibit 2A-618 as? Jake. How do you know Jake? From Garen at Cowboys for Angels. What cities did you see Jake? Los Angeles. Okay, take that down. Can you please pull government exhibits 2A-601? What do you know the individual depicted in government's exhibit 2A-601 as? I don't know his name. Do you know him despite not knowing his name? Yes, vaguely. What do you recognize him to be? Somebody that Garen sent. In what city did Garen send this individual? LA. Okay. Ms. Ventura, do you know the individuals depicted in government exhibit 2A-620 as, I know him as Greg. Okay, and how do you know Greg? He was hired as an escort in Miami for freak-offs. And by the way, I'm going to stop right here because this continues on where she's identifying each individual, okay? So I'll just name him by name as I'm reviewing this because it would just take too long for us to go line by line. But we heard Greg. Jonathan. Okay. Jonathan several times, mostly in Miami. She's shown another picture. She doesn't recognize this man. He was also hired at Free COMBS in New York, but she doesn't really remember too much. And then another picture, his name is Brian, and he was also an escort hired through Craigslist, and is another exhibit. And his name is Vin, and he was also through Garen in Vegas and LA. And I think we're done identifying. All right, so let's go back to questioning. Ms. Ventura, looking through these photos, you often said we hired him as an escort. Who's the we in this situation? Me and Sean. Who primarily reached out to the escort? I did. Why did you primarily reach out to the escort? Just based on who Sean is, I don't want to put him in that position. And that was just my job, really. When you say that was your job, what do you mean by that? It was expected of me. Who expected it of you? Sean. Who, if anyone, told you to reach out to these escorts? Sean did. And for all the individuals on these photos I've just shown you, in addition to the photos we saw yesterday, what event did you see all these individuals for? Freak-offs. Was Sean involved in all of the freak-offs with those individuals? Yes. Did you have S or perform S acts with all of the individuals that we saw during those freak-offs? Yes. Were all those individuals paid? I'm not sure. If they were paid, objection from the defense. Judge sustains it. Ms. Ventura, were at least some of those individuals paid? Yes. For the individuals who were paid, whose money was used to pay them? Sean's money. Okay. And she has shown more exhibits, and more exhibits are pulled up. Ms. Ventura, do you recognize the document depicted in Government Exhibit B-B622? Yes, it's a text between me and Sean. How do you recognize it? Our phone numbers and our names? Is this a fair and accurate text between you and Sean? Yes. Okay. Government exhibit is offered, no objection from the defense, and exhibits are admitted. Directing your attention, Ms. Ventura, to the page on the left, on the top page. Who are the can you publish that for the jury, Ms. Gavin? Who are the participants in this communication? Me and Sean. Okay. Who sent this text message? It's from Sean to me. What's the date of this message? January 26, 2016. Can you please read this message? What's the date of this message? January 26, 2016. Can you read this message? You know we have to have a proper FO without no K. I need to get it out of my head. I hate K. So you let me know when. Please don't be mad and think that all I want to do. It's just that KSA bathed us. Don't know. A successful FO is when we remember we don't be friending. Do it the right way. I won't bring it up again until you are in that mood, and I'll fly Dave in. Sorry. What is your understanding of what K is in this message? Ketamine, the drug. Is ketamine a drug that was used at some freak-offs? Yes. Who gave you ketamine at some freak-offs? Sean had it. What was your understanding of what Sean was saying about K in this message? That it took time out of the freak-offs? It was my preferred drug because it was very disassociative, and you can go into something called a K-hole where you're not present in that moment. So I think that's what was happening here. When you say took time out of the freak-off, what do you mean by that? Just high and not doing any actions? When you say not doing any actions, are you referring to S-acts? S-acts, intercourse, yeah. Okay. Ms. Gavin, please take that down. Ms. Ventura, directing your attention to these messages. Who sent these messages? I did. And can you read the top message? This all we do. And I'm just getting back on track. I'm sure you can call Kim or something. When you say this all we do, what were you referring to? Freak-offs. When you said I'm just getting back on track, what were you referring to? Just back in like recovery mode and feeling like I could get back to work, get back to what I really wanted to do. You could take that down, Miss Gavin. When you say that you really wanted to be doing, did you want to be doing free comms? No. During free comms, was there anything you tried to avoid doing physically with the escorts? I was really against kissing. I just felt like it was too intimate, but it still happened anyway. Why did it still happen? Sean would request to see it. So then I would do it. Did you tell Sean that you didn't want to kiss the escorts? I did. At a point, yeah, definitely didn't. It made me like squeamish. I don't know. After you told Sean you didn't want to kiss the escorts, did Sean still request that you kiss? Yeah, on different occasions. Okay. Exhibits are requested, so more exhibits are pulled. Miss Ventura, directing your attention to that last sentence, I'll fly Dave in. Yeah. Who is Dave? Dave is one of the escorts that was used. What was your understanding of what Sean was offering to fly Dave in for? He was offering to fly him in for a freak off. Where does Dave live, if you know? I believe he lives in New York. And in what cities did you have freak offs with Dave and Sean? New York, Miami, Los Angeles, Vegas? I'm not sure. Okay, you could take that down. Ms. Ventura, directing your attention to the 29th birthday. How did you spend your 29th birthday? There was a surprise dinner thrown for me at a restaurant in LA, and yeah, my friends were there. Who threw that dinner for you? Sean. Who was present at the dinner? Sean was present at the dinner? Yeah. Were you expecting Sean to be present at the dinner? I wasn't. I thought he wasn't coming. Why you think he wasn't coming? Because he told me that he wasn't going to be able to make it. At dinner, what did you want to do to celebrate your birthday? I wanted to go to this club called Blind Dragon and do karaoke with my friends. What happened after dinner? After dinner, we started to all of the friends. I was starting to head towards that way. But Sean already let me know that he wanted to have a freak off, and I was like, okay, not right now. Like, I really wanted to celebrate my birthday. We ended up getting to Blind Dragon, but he kept pulling me away from my friends, and I eventually left. What, if anything, did you tell Sean about what you wanted to do on the night of your 29th birthday? I told him that I wanted to stay out and celebrate with my friends. And in my mind, I didn't want the burden of having to do that at the end of the night. I just wanted to have my birthday. Did you want to have a freak off that night? No. What ended up happening that night? We went to Blind Dragon for a bit. He pulled me out so many times. I just, like I said, I gave up and again, had a freak off. Who, if anyone, was with Sean when he was pulling you out of the Blind Dragon to have a conversation? I don't know specifically what security, but there was security there. Ms. Ventura, yesterday you mentioned blackmail material. What were you referring to when you said blackmail material? Blackmail material would be like S videos, freak off videos, even just other embarrassing videos, me drunk, like anything that would make me look not great. When, if ever, would Sean mention these types of videos to you? Usually when he was angry about something or just really wanted me to fear. Objection from the defense. It's overruled. Ms. Ventura, you can continue. Can you repeat the question? Of course. When, if ever, would Sean mention the freak off videos to you? He would mention them when he was upset about something. He was just pretty common thing. One time I dated someone else, and that is what it was all about. I'm going to put out 2 embarrassing videos of you, and he just wanted to hurt me. Well, we'll get back to that. You said this was common. How frequently did Sean bring up the freak off videos to you? I mean, once is too much, but several times. When he brought up the videos, what, if anything, do you remember him saying about the videos? That he was going to release them and embarrass me and, yeah, put my career in jeopardy. Were you afraid that the videos would be released? Absolutely, yeah. What were your concerns? That he would be mad enough to put them out, and then I would have to answer to my mother. Like, besides your mother, what, if any, other concerns did you have about the freak off videos being released publicly? I just feared for my career. I feared for my family, just embarrassing all of it. It's horrible and it's disgusting. Like, no one should do that to anyone. What, if anything, did Sean say to you about the impact of releasing the freak off videos? That it could ruin everything that I work for, just make me look like a smut, S. I would be ashamed, like I wasn't supposed to be on those videos. So, what do you mean by I wasn't supposed to be on those videos? I didn't want to be in them. Okay. More exhibits are pulled out. Ms. Ventura, directing your attention to the top. Who are the participants in this chat? That's me and Sean. Ms. Ventura, can you turn to page 2? Do you want me to read? What's the date on this communication? July 22nd, 2013. And can you please read your top message in blue? Please delete any video of your phone if you have too many people have access to your stuff. When you said video in that message, what video are you referring to? Freak off videos. And how did Sean respond? I did yesterday, and no iCloud. On, all good. Ambient kicking in. Good night. Were there occasions when you saw videos that you thought had been deleted? Yeah. How frequently did that happen? It happened often, more than a handful of times. Okay. Your Honor, is it possible to have a brief sidebar before we introduce the next series of exhibits? Of course. Thank you. So lawyers have a sidebar. Ms. Johnson. Thank you, Judge. I'm just about to introduce the sealed exhibits, and I want to make sure that we're all aligned in the procedure for how we will do this. I would ask that the TV be shown in the gallery, be turned off, and we'll display them only for the and the court and the jury. And they're already admitted. I also wanted to make sure that there's nothing being played in the overflow room before I do this. And Agnifilo jumps in and also is concerned about evidence being shown. He's talking about like the screen protectors. And Johnson further explains that this is just still 6 images, no sound, and they won't be needing any headphones for these images. But really, they are having this conversation because they want to make sure nothing gets transmitted accidentally. And then this is when the court basically says, I propose that we have a short recess and that everything's in place. But I also believe that live note is not functioning. So kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Okay. So members of the jury were going to take a 10-minute break. So the jury goes to break here. We're back from break. And Ms. Johnson basically admits a good portion of images into evidence. Before I get back to questioning Ms. Ventura, I'm going to offer a few additional exhibits into the evidence. So you guys can see the numbers right there, the letter with the numbers. No objection from the defense. All of these items are admitted. Ms. Ventura, before we broke, we were discussing the freak off videos. Do you remember that testimony? Yes. Ms. Gavin, can you please pull up? So exhibits are pulled up. Who are the participants in this chat? Me and Sean. Okay. Ms. Ventura, directing your attention to the blue bubbles on the top of the screen, the second full one down that says, I need you to call me ASAP. Do you see that bubble? Yes. What is the date on that message? March 9th, 2014. Who sent that text message? I did, to Sean. Directing your attention to the gray bubble underneath that message. Can you read those, please? I called, pick up. When did he say he saw it? How long ago? Ask him what he did, the room look like, etc. Girl, you need to act like you need to get this info. Ms. Ventura, do you recall what this conversation with Sean was about? Yes. What was it about? I was in Atlantic City hosting a party with new management company. While they're out, somebody that I was working with mentioned that they had seen actually explicit video of me, and immediately my thoughts went to the freak offs video. So I reached out to Sean. Who was the individual who had seen the actually explicit video of you? The person who was talking about it, his name was Sujin. And to be clear, for the record, was this individual saying he had seen the video or just speaking of a video? He was speaking of a video. Looking at the next page, 3, at the gray bubble in the bottom, who sends that message? That's Sean. And can you read that message? You got to tell him this is your life and this is serious. Ask him how did Who Kid bring it up? Did he say, hey, look, I got this video with Cassie? The natural question Soojin would have asked is, how did he get the footage? And what is he planning on doing with it? You gotta tell him this is your life and this is serious. Who is Who Kid? He is a DJ? How, if at all, is Who Kid involved in this incident? I think that he was with the one that told Soojin about this video, or at least what I gather from the beginning of the conversation. I think he was the one that told Soojin about this video, or at least what I gathered from the beginning of the conversation. Okay, please take those exhibits down. Ms. Ventura, when Sean said, are you talking to him yet? What's your understanding of who Sean was referencing? He was referencing Soojin. And on the bottom gray bubble, could you read the bubble? This is crazy. Do not let him out of your sight. WTF. In that message, do you have an understanding of who Sean is referencing when he says do not let him out of your sight? Yes, he's talking about Soojin. Okay. We could take those down. After this conversation with Sean, what did you do, Miss Ventura? After that conversation, we were headed back in a car from Atlantic City, where the party was, to, New York. The following day, we were headed there to basically have a conversation with Soojin and Woo Kid, and I was accompanied by security. Who was in the car with you from Atlanta City to New York? It was me, Soojin, and Carrie Morgan. Why was Soojin in the car with you and Carrie back to New York? We were coming from a party and he wasn't in a great condition, but I was told not to let him out of my sight, so he stayed with me. Who told you not to let him out of your sight? Sean. And you also referenced having a conversation with Soojin and Woo Kid. Did that discussion happen? There was a discussion that happened later that night. Where did it happen? It was at a restaurant somewhere in New York. I don't remember exactly where. What was the topic of discussion at the restaurant? The topic of discussion was, where is this video? Does this video exist? Who saw it? What's in it? Like every detail that they could come up with. When you say they in that sentence, who is they? Soojin and party. Was it Soojin and Woo Kid? Yeah, I really didn't speak to Woo Kid too much about it. And you mentioned security. What was security's role in this discussion that you had with Soojin? I felt like security's role was just to intimidate them in getting the truth and getting the real information. Where was security during this discussion? We were sitting in the middle of the restaurant floor. I think it was like a lower level, and then the security was lined around the outside of the room. Did you invite security to join you at this dinner? Yeah, I was told to bring as much security as I could. Who told you to bring as much security as you could? Sean, but it was set up by whoever was in New York, which I don't know. Who did you recall from security being present at this dinner? I recall Uncle Polly. Who did Uncle Polly work for? Sean. And how did others react at the dinner to the presence of security? I think everyone was just scared and really confused. I don't know if everyone knew why we were there. Yeah, I'm not really sure. And besides security, who else, if anyone, who worked for Sean was present at the dinner? James Cruz, who worked for Sean. And can you remind the jury of James Cruz's role? James acted as my manager for some years and worked for Sean. Turning to a different topic now. After the freak off, how did you and Sean typically recover? We were going to stay together like that night or after. We'd usually go back to his place, whichever city, and get IV fluids, a massage. We eat. The chef would cook for us some food, just trying to, to take care of ourselves. What, if any, drugs did you take after freak-offs? I had an ongoing off and on addiction with opioids. So I would take the opioids to come down from the ecstasy and the MDMA from like turned up party. How did the opioids make you feel? Opioids made me feel numbed, which is why I relied on them so heavily. Yeah, that was the best way to describe it. Why did you want to feel numbed? I didn't want to feel what was actually going on in my mind, in my real life, in my real time. It was just an escape for me. How often did you take opioids after freak offs? Pretty often. Not every time. There were times where I wasn't on them. Uh, but when I was, I was. And how did you get the opioids that you took after freak offs? From a drug dealer or a friend? Like, however, at that time, were there any occasions when Sean gave you opioids? Yes. More so in the beginning of our relationship. Approximately how many years when you say the beginning of your relationship, Sean gave you opioids sometimes? What years approximately would those be? It would be like 2007, 2008 from there. As a result of the freak offs, what, if any, medical issues did you experience? I had a lot of stomach issues, like gastrointestinal issues from taking drugs. I also would get frequent UTIs, which are, if you've ever had one, you know how painful that is. Just stopping you there. Miss Ventura, what does UTI stand for? Urinary tract infections? Focusing on that infection, how frequently did you get UTIs? When we're having frequent freak offs, it was sometimes we're back to back. Sometimes I couldn't get rid of it, and I was actually doing the freak off with an infection. When you say sometimes they were back to back, what's the they in that sentence? The they is the UTI infection. You describe your UTIs are painful. How painful were they? Very painful and varied. I would try to flush it out, just drink some tons of water, cranberry juice, cranberry pills. I got to a point where C-Pro didn't even work anymore, which is it's like an antibacterial medicine. Yeah, just was a mess. Like really painful for a long time. I actually can't believe that I dealt with that. Did you talk to Sean about your UTIs? Yeah, he knew that I would get them. You mentioned you had freak offs with UTIs. Is that correct? Sometimes, yeah. How did it feel to have S with an UTI? I mean, horrible. It's the most uncomfortable burning. I would not advise it. Okay. More exhibits into evidence. Ms. Ventura, who are the participants in this conversation? This is me and Sean. Can you please turn to page 2 and 3? Miss Gavin, Miss Ventura, we're going to read this message out loud. If you could read the blue message, I'll read the gray message. Okay, you can start. I feel okay, just a little achy and tired. How are you feeling? I feel good. Miss you though. Shake it off and smile all day. I had a great time with you this weekend. Thank you. Me too. I love you. I miss you. What's your day like? What's your plan, Stan? Studio, cutting vocals, workout after, get my shit together. Let's go. Have a great day. I love you. Please email my pics. What are you doing? Hello? Before we move on to the next page, what's your understanding of what Sean was referencing when he says, please email me my pics? I actually don't know. Okay. Ms. Ventura, starting at the top in the blue. Hello. I sent them yesterday. Not all of them. What are you doing? Okay, vocals. How are the vocals going? They're good. I have these sores on my tongue, so it's kind of uncomfortable, and I think I have another UTI. How's your day? Pausing there. In these messages, you reference having sores on your tongue. What were you talking about there? Occasionally, I get sores on my tongue from freak offs, the taking drugs, substances, and just friction in my mouth. So pretty much that's what I was talking about. What was the friction in your mouth from? From OS. Also from having my mouth on things where there was oil and astroglide and lubricant. How did the mouth sores you would get feel? Just stinging and uncomfortable? And below that you tell Sean, I think I have another UTI, and have a sad face after that, right? Yeah. How often did you tell Sean about your UTIs? I was pretty open with him about it, and they were regular, so I'll continue reading on page 5 with the gray bubble from Sean. I'm good. Shit. Need you to go to doc. Yeah, we did a lot. What you mean? A lot of D's, a lot of partying. So pausing you there, what are you referencing when you say a lot of D's, a lot of partying? The freak offs. And relative to a photograph, when is this communication with Sean? The next day it was, yeah. So after a freak off, yeah. I'll continue reading with the Sean bubble. So you feel sick? I'm sorry. Why are you sorry? Why did you ask Sean why he was sorry? I really took the blame for things. I don't know. I guess I just didn't understand why he was saying sorry about something that had happened many times. Okay? You could take that down. More exhibits are shown. Miss Ventura, who are the participants in this communication? Me and Sean. Turning to the next page, what's the date of this communication? July 18th, 2012. And relative to the last exhibit, we look at, do you recall how soon after the last exhibit this was sent? No, I missed it. We'll come back to that. Okay. Can you read the first sentence on the message here? I didn't mean that the weekend, was hell, but it was on my body. And what are you referring to when you say I didn't mean the weekend was hell, but it was on my body? Talking about the freak offs and staying up and partying. Physically, how did you feel about freak offs? I just felt so tired and achy and really dehydrated because you're up for so long, not really eating too much. I used to try to drink as much water as I could by staying up that long and taking that many drugs for that long. It's kind of, it is what it is. How'd you feel emotionally after those freak offs? Oh, emotionally, after a freak off, we're just like empty. Especially if we didn't continue our schedules. Sean and I together, if I didn't stay with him or whatever, it just felt like, okay, I did my job now. I'm going about the rest of my life. Yeah, they're really empty. I definitely felt like just gross. Same feeling over and over. Okay, you could take those down, Miss Gavin. Miss Ventura. Other than freak offs, did Sean ever ask you to participate in S activities involving other people? S clubs, but I wasn't really asked for participation. I wouldn't say. What is a S club? First of all, S club is a club where they have like special rooms where you can have S with people. When, if ever, have you visited an S club? I visited a few with Sean over the years. New York, I don't know what it was called. Las Vegas has a club called the Green Door. There were some in Los Angeles that we would drive to. Whose idea was it to visit S clubs? It was Sean's. Did you ever want to go to S clubs? I didn't. I was always terrified and would drink quite a bit. Why were you terrified? It wasn't an experience that I was into. Just wasn't my thing. Yesterday, do you recall telling the jury about Sean discussing the swingers lifestyle with you? Yeah. What did Sean tell you that swingers was? I mean, based off of what I kind of already knew. And what he told me, it was you could swap partners and everybody's okay with it. It's a certain type of lifestyle and that it was a turn on for him. How, if at all, did your understanding of the S lifestyle related to freak offs? I related them pretty closely just because of the S nature and me actually having intercourse with somebody else besides him. Did you want to do F offs, freak offs? No. When you went to S clubs with Sean, who else, if anybody, went with you? Sometimes an escort would go with us. One time we went with an escort and their spouse, their girlfriend. Whose idea was it to have an escort come with you? It was Sean's and the escorts, I guess. Which escort came to the S Club with you and Sean? Jules. Is that the same Jules from the Intercontinental Hotel incident? Yes. Yeah. You mentioned you would drink before going to S clubs. Is that right? Yeah. What else, if anything, would you ingest before going to S clubs? I mean, alcohol, if that's what they're if that's what was there. MDMA, ecstasy, GHB was a big one. Who provided you the MDMA, ecstasy, and GHB? Sean. At S clubs, who, if anybody, did you have S with? I had S with Sean, Jules at a point. Did you want to have S with Jules? No, not at the S club. No. Did you want to have S with Jules ever? No. Jules was like, within all of it, was like a safe place. I saw him a lot. We actually had our own friendship. So being able to have S with Jules instead of somebody at a club was much better than having to have S with somebody else that I didn't know at the club, if that makes sense. Why did you have S with Jules at the club? Because I was that was what was happening. Sean would request it or we would just do it. It's what we did. Did you want to be having S with Jules at S clubs? No. And what was your reaction to visiting these S clubs? It was just confusing. By that point, I was pretty messed up. I remember being at a time where I got just way too drunk to do anything, and we had to leave. It's just uncomfortable when it's not something you're into. I'm not into seeing people I'm in love with be with somebody else. That's not my thing. What, if anything, did you tell Sean about whether you wanted to go to S clubs? I was vocal about it. I told him it made me uncomfortable. He knew how I behaved. Objection from Estavio. That's sustained. Miss Johnson, could you move on to another question? Miss Ventura, how long were you with Sean in total? How many years? Almost 11. And during those 11 years, did you become familiar with Sean's moods and actions? Yes. Did he become familiar with yours? Yes. And when you would tell Sean that you didn't want to go to S clubs, how would he respond? I feel like some of the times he would just try to turn the energy around and keep it positive. Objection. Okay, that's overruled. What do you mean turn the energy around? Can you give me an example? I mean, just be playful and fun instead of scary. Like it wasn't always like a scary thing for him. Can you repeat it? Sure. When you would tell Sean that you didn't want to go to S clubs, how would he respond? Yeah, it varied on the situation, but he really just like keep pushing and try to convince that would be a fun thing to do, or we wouldn't go for long. Or did you end up doing it? Did you end up going? Yeah. Why did you drink so much when you went to S clubs? Because I didn't know how to be there sober. So moving on to a different topic. We talked about the Intercontinental yesterday and this morning. Aside from that incident, when, if ever, did you leave a freak off before it was finished? There were other times when I tried to leave, but I would always end up back at the room. Why would you try to leave? If we were having just another bad time, if I was scared of him, I felt like uncomfortable, unsafe, would just leave and go, sometimes end up in the kitchen at the hotel, like hiding. It depends on what it was. When you left the hotel room, where did you go? Typically out in the back hotel. Like I would try to find out my way the back into like alley spaces. I remember doing that at El Mirage a lot. Is the El Mirage in Los Angeles? Uh-huh. You said that you would always end up back in the room. Is that right? For the most part, yeah. Were there occasions where you didn't end up back in the room? Not that I recall, except for the Intercontinental time. How did you end up back in the room? Sean would find me. He'd come looking for me and find me and call me. Yeah, I would be found. And after Sean would find you, where would you go? Back to the room. Would the freak-offs continue back in the room? Usually, yeah. Were there times where you were injured at a freak-off? Yes. How were you injured? Put his hands on me? Or, yeah. Who put his hands on you? Sean. When you say he put his hands on you, can you describe what actions he took? He would grab me, push me down, hit me in the back of my head, kick me, like you name it. Who else, if anyone, was present when Sean put his hands on you at a freak off? Sometimes it was just us, and other times there was an escort close by. Were there occasions when the escort was in the same room with you and Sean? Yeah, we were in the same room. We were in the same hotel room. Same hotel room or same room within the suite? Hotel room. I don't remember specifically somebody watching me get beat. So just clarify, do you recall if an escort was present in the same room while Sean was putting his hands on you at a freak off? Yes. Who do you recall being present for that? Jules. And were there other times where the escort was present in the hotel room, but not in the room inside the suite where Sean was putting his hands on you? Yes. If you know, were escorts aware of what was happening between you and Sean on occasions? Objection from the defense. Judge says it's overruled. Do you want me to ask it again, Miss Ventura? On occasions, when you were inside of a hotel room and you and Sean were in one room and an escort was in a different room in a suite, if you know, were escorts aware of what was happening in the room where you and Sean were? Yes, because they could hear it and would ask me afterwards if I was okay. Yeah. Would you know that the escorts heard it because they asked you if you were okay? Yes. How soon after freak-off started was Sean physical with you during freak-offs? I mean, within that first year, we were definitely partying quite a bit. And in what cities do you recall Sean putting his hands on you during freak-offs? You said city? Which cities? New York and Los Angeles for sure. Miami? How frequently did Sean put his hands on you at freak-offs? Too frequently. A lot. Okay. I'm going to move to a different topic. More exhibits are pulled. Ms. Ventura, who are the participants in the communication at Government's Exhibit B-255? Me and Sean. Okay. Ms. Ventura, directing your attention to the top message. What's the date on that message? It's August 5th, 2013. Can you read that? First message. We went across to the Abbey. The gays live on a Sunday, LOL. Who sent that message? Me to Sean. When you say the Abbey, what's the Abbey? It's a club in Los Angeles. On Sunday, it's a gay club. When you say we, who is with you at the Abbey on August 5th, 2013? I was with Deontay and a group of friends. Okay, can we take that exhibit down? Ms. Ventura, do you recognize who is depicted in Government Exhibit 2A-504? That's Deontay Nash. How do you recognize Deontay Nash? He's my friend of many years. Is this a fair and accurate photo of Deontay Nash? Yeah. Okay. So that is admitted into exhibits. No objection from the defense. Ms. Ventura, is this the Deontay who was at the Abbey with you on August 5th, 2013? Yes. After the Abbey, where did you go? After the Abbey, I went back home to my apartment on Doheny, and I was supposed to be packing for a music festival. Miss Gavin, can you please take this photo down? What music festival were you packing for? The OVO Fest? What's the OVO Fest? It is a music festival in Canada that the artist Drake throws. Who else, if anyone, was at the apartment while you were packing? Another friend, Mia, who was with me, and Deontay. And what happened at the apartment while you were packing? When Sean came in, I was actually asleep, and it was just like a commotion. Him yelling at us about being passed out on the couch, about me being asleep and not packing. Deontay and Mia had jumped on his back and Sean's back because he was trying to attack me. Eventually, we ended up on the living room into the master bedroom. I think they were still jumping on his back when he threw me down. I cut my eyebrow on the corner of my bed. A couple of follow-up questions, Ms. Ventura. When you say they were jumping on his back, who was jumping on his back? My friend Mia and Deontay were jumping on Sean's back. And you said you got thrown onto the bed frame, is that right? Yep. Who threw you onto the bed frame? Sean threw me onto the bed frame. What, if any, injuries did you have? I had a pretty significant gash on the side of my eyebrow. Okay. More exhibits are published. Miss Ventura, do you recognize what's depicted in this exhibit? Yep. What is it? It's my eyebrow after I was thrown. After you were thrown into the bed frame, as you just described? Yes. Who threw you? Sean. What, if any, medical treatment did you receive for the injury depicted in the government exhibit? B-247-A. I didn't go to the ER or anything. I ended up, it was like a Sunday, so nothing was open. Sean had security bring me to a plastic surgeon office, and that opened up in Beverly Hills that Sunday to suture it. When you say security, who from security brought you to the doctor's office? D-Rock. Whose choice was it for security to accompany you? Sean. Okay. More government exhibits. If you can go to, before you go to page 1, I'm sorry. On page 1, who are the participants in this communication? Me and Sean. And can you please go to page 2, Miss Gavin? What date did you send this photograph, Miss Ventura? August 5th, 2013. And who did you send it to? To Sean. And what does the text accompany the photograph say? So you can remember. Why did you write this to Sean? So you can remember with the image of your injury. I didn't want him to forget what he did. Why didn't you want him to forget what he did? Because it was awful? The very least, I just wanted him to be sorry about it. Ms. Ventura, what is the timestamp of the message when you sent this photograph? It says 11:48 a.m. And that's on August 5th, 2013? Yes. Okay. So more exhibits are shown. Ms. Ventura, directing your attention to the top message. That's the date and time of, what's the date and time of this message? August 5th, 2013 at 11:51 a.m. And is that approximately 3 minutes after the photograph you just sent to Sean? Yes. Can you read the message in gray? You don't know when to stop. You have pushed it far and continue to push. Sad. Who sent that message to you? Sean. And can you remind the jury what you were doing when Sean came into your apartment? I was sleeping. And how did you respond to Sean? Just say sorry. Have some sympathy. I came in saying sorry. I didn't even know why I deserved that. You could care less if I was okay. So you mentioned that you were at home packing when Sean came over. Did you go to the music festival you were packing for after this incident? Yeah. Okay. Miss Gavin, more government exhibits. Miss Ventura, who is depicted in government exhibit B-207? That's me, French Montana, who is another artist. Where are you in the photograph at B-207? We were in the green room in Canada, in Toronto, at the OVO Fest. And was the cut on your eyebrow visible in this photograph? No. Why was it not visible? Because I styled my hair over it. Is that your hair on the right-hand side of your face when you were looking at the photograph? Yeah. After the OVO Fest, where did you go? We went to the Hamptons from there. Okay. More exhibits are taken down. When you were in the Hamptons, what, if anything, happened in the Hamptons? Sean wanted to have a freak off. So after we hung out with our friends for a little bit, we ended up booking a motel and drove there. Which escort attended the freak off in the Hamptons Hotel? It was Dave. Okay. More exhibits are pulled. Ms. Ventura, is this the Dave you were referencing? Yes. Okay. What, if anything, happened at the hotel in the Hamptons after you arrived? At that time, we were taking GHB, and I spoke before about going into a K hole and on G. You can go into a G hole. And I blacked out, and that's what happened to me. I woke up nude in the shower, and Dave and Sean were freaking out like outside of the bathroom. What was your understanding of why Dave and Sean were freaking out when you woke up nude in the shower? Because I blacked out, I'm not sure. I didn't see myself, but it wasn't pretty. And after you woke up in the shower, what happened next? I spoke to one of Sean's friends over the phone, and then we had a freak off with Dave. With Dave, okay. Miss Ventura, what is the date of the before I get to the date? What does the photograph depict in this exhibit? It's my eyebrow healed up a little bit. And what's the date on this image? August 13th, 2013. So August 13th, 2013, a little over a week later after August 5th, the date you were injured. Yes. And how soon after the OVO Fest did you go to the Hamptons? Right after. And how soon after your injury on August 5th did you go to the OBS? The OVO Fest? Right after. What, if any, scars do you have from this injury? I have a permanent scar on my eyebrow now. I cover it with makeup. Okay. You can take that down, Miss Gavin. Miss Ventura, do you recognize who's depicted in the government exhibit 9D-102? Yep. That's me at the Cannes Film Festival. I'm not sure what year. How do you recognize yourself in the Cannes Film Festival? I do. That's me. That's me there. Is that a fair and accurate photograph of you at Cannes? Yes. Okay. More exhibits are offered from the government. No objections from the defense. Miss Ventura, when you say you were at Cannes the year that this photograph was taken, where were you staying? I was staying on a boat with Sean. It was one of his friend's yachts. Was Sean also at Cannes with you? Yes. Prior to the red carpet photograph depicted in government's exhibit 90-102, what, if anything, happened at Cannes with Sean? We got into an argument. He actually was accusing me of taking rugs from him and kicked me off the boat with no shoes early one morning. I walked over to a staff hotel and I stayed in somebody's room over there. When he kicked you off the boat with no shoes, what else, if anything, of yours was still on the boat? All the stuff I flew there with, my passport, everything. And relative to the red carpet depicted in 9D-102, when were you kicked off the boat? Earlier that morning. And that red carpet that depicted in government exhibit 90-102, what was the occasion for that red carpet event? It was just a movie premiere. Did you attend the movie after the red carpet? I did. You could take those down, Miss Gavin. Who else was at the movie, if anyone? Sean and security. Who do you recall from security being present? I don't remember. But when you say security, was it Sean's security? It was Sean's security, yeah. What, if anything, happened during the movie at Cannes? During the movie, we hadn't spoken. Sean and I hadn't spoken at all since the incident where he kicked me off the boat. So it was just getting evil glares while we were sitting together during the movie. He would grab my leg and like squeeze my thigh as tightly as he could. And I was wearing like a beaded dress. So it was really painful, but nobody knew, just squeezing my leg. After the movie, how soon did you return to the US? Within the next 24 hours, I would say. How did you get back to the United States? We flew on a commercial flight on the same flight. What city did you fly into? To New York. And where did you sit on the commercial flight? I had a seat that I traded with someone else because I didn't want to sit next to Sean at that point. And then he switched seats with that person next to me at that point. So we still ended up riding together. What, if anything, did Sean show you on the flight back to New York from France? He pulled up videos that I thought I had deleted, some freak off videos out of his computer. Like I thought I really deleted them out. He had them pulled up and was playing them for me on the flight back to New York. On what device was he playing them for you? On his laptop, one of his devices. Were there other people around you when he was playing the freak off videos? Yeah. What did he say about the videos while he was playing them for you on the plane? That he was going to embarrass me and release them? Just threats to release the videos. When Sean was playing freak off videos for you on the plane, how did you feel? I couldn't have felt worse. Also scared. I just had got my passport back. I just felt trapped. Like, how do you get out of this situation when somebody, I don't know, felt trapped? When you landed in New York, what did you do? We landed in New York and ended up going to dinner, and he wanted to have a freak off, so we had a freak off. How soon after dinner did you have a freak off? Right after. How soon after landing in New York was dinner? Within a couple hours, an hour or two? Why did you do the freak off? Honestly, at that point, whatever was going on to make him not be angry at me and threatening me, I was willing to do. Yeah, I just didn't want to feel scared anymore. And one thing he made me feel like I was good at. What concerns did you have if Sean was threatening you? That he could put these videos out and ruin everything for me, embarrass me, just make me out to be someone that I'm not in a very unfair way. Why did you think it was unfair? Which part? You just said it was a very unfair way. Can you explain what you meant? What you mean by that? I mean, the leverage of having an incriminating or derogatory, humiliating video of somebody telling them they're going to release it if you don't behave the way they want you to, or whatever the case may be. It was just always like that. Like that's a big part of our relationship. And who told you that the videos would be released? Sean. Okay, government's exhibits are being offered. Miss Ventura, who are the participants in this chat? Me and Sean. Okay, Miss Gavin, can you please pull up pages 2 and 3 side by side? Miss Ventura, directing your attention to the bubble, to the top bubble on page 2. What's the date of that communication? June 15, 2013. So I'll read the gray bubble and you read the blue bubbles. I'm here. Coming. Yo, I'm outside. Your S makes me high. No, like literally. I feel like I just took a PK, lol. Pausing you there. When you say, I feel like I just took a PK, what does PK refer to? A painkiller. Is a painkiller the same as the opioid you were describing earlier? Yes. When you say your S makes me high, whose X are you referring to? Sean's. During your relationship, who did you want to have S with? Wanted to have S with Sean. Continuing on, dope. I was thinking about a freak off, but I need to be focused. Hello? You do or I do? Hello? We both do. I was just telling you my thoughts. LOL. I've been thinking about one too. We were pretty focused last time. Just has to be the right people or person. So pausing there. When you say LOL, I've been thinking about one too. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the freak off. Why did you respond to Sean that way? This was just kind of like a normal way to respond. If he was throwing the idea out there, that's something he wanted to do. Didn't want him to think I didn't want to, so that's what I said. Why didn't you want Sean to thinking you didn't want to do a freak off? Because then it would be a problem. Just ended up fighting. And what, if anything, would happen when there was a fight? When there was a fight, objection from Mrs. Stavio, grounds, speculation, court says overruled. Miss Ventura, you were saying that you responded like this because you were worried about a fight. What, if anything, sometimes happened during fights? Fights were just never good for any couple. If it was something he really wanted to do, like it was going to happen when someone's violent with you at any point, like that's objection from the defense. That's sustained. Miss Johnson, Miss Ventura, prior to this communication on June 15th, 2013, has Sean been violent with you before? Yes. How many times approximately? Who knows? And what concerns, if any, did you have about Sean being violent with you? It was always a concern if we weren't agreeing on something, or if I didn't want to get high, or if I didn't want to do exactly what was being presented as something to do. It's the same thing every week. And prior to these messages on June 15, 2013, had you told Sean in the past you did not want to do a freak ops? Yes. Once or more than once? More than once. So let's continue reading. I'll finish with the gray bubble on the bottom of page 3. The only way I could do this is if it was all right. I got some more G. Pausing you there before we turn the page. What is G referring to there? The drug GHP? Is that a drug that was used at freak-offs? Sometimes. Who provided the GHB? Sean. Can you turn the pages, please, Miss Gavin, to 4 and 5? Can you pick up reading there? Exactly. Good, G. That's what they told me. Haha. Question mark. Call HS. Where is my pizza? Pausing right there. What does HS refer to? House. It's an abbreviation. You can pick up at the blue bubble. Picking it up now. What were you talking about before? Who told you what? Call HS. What was the MSG from before that? Ash isn't answering. Vin isn't here. Pausing you there. Who are Ash and Vince? They're both escorts that were working with Garen. Did you see pictures of Ash this morning? Yes. Picking up. Did you call Garen? Yes, he told me. Does he have anyone? Probably just the guy that we said no to before. Jules hit you back. Pausing you there. Is this the same Jules we previously discussed? Yes. And Jules is an escort. Yes. Turning the page. From Sean, Jules can do 12. We need someone from 9 p.m. Okay. Yeah, he said 12. See what he has for 9. Checking. Do you need to go shopping? Yes, I'm going to go as soon as we're good. Go, time is ticking. I'm getting an RM now. Go, time is ticking. I'm getting an RM now. Only available, he said, good reviews. Jake, do you want me to keep going? I'm sorry, Miss Ventura. In the message you just read, is there a photograph accompanied that message? Yes. And how would you have received that photograph that you transmitted? From Garen? You can continue. Jake the white guy is also, but Jake also can't do 11. And who is Jake? It's another escort. Were you shown a photograph of Jake earlier this morning? Yes. Okay. You can turn that page, Miss Gavin. You can continue at the top. The other guy can do earlier. What do you think? He said maybe he can get Jake for 10. Up to you. It's just one more person knowing our secret. Jake can definitely do 10. When you said it's definitely one more person knowing our secret, what do you mean by that? I'm referring to the freak-offs and just the shame of the secret. Why were you concerned if people knew about the freak-offs? It's not what I wanted people to know about. Is that because you didn't want to do them? Yeah, it's because I didn't want to do them and I just didn't want to be part of that. Picking up in gray, call HS. Jules said he could do 9. Want to just have him after Jake? Up to you. If we want to start sooner, we should do that. Call HS. Let's do Jake at 10. MK, sure he's on time. I'ma do Jules at 1 a.m. SLS. Before you start picking up reading, what does SLS refer to if you know? It's a hotel in Hollywood. Is that a hotel where you and Sean had freak-offs? Yes. You can continue reading, Miss Ventura. Okay, I'm about to be home. Want me to come get you? Okay. Miss Gavin, please turn the page. I am corny. OM playing trouble with girls. I'm about to leave. To go where? Hello? CM down. I'm pulling up to you now. You okay? Yes, I'm yes, on my HM. You at the airport, you get valleys? I'm so tense. When you say valleys, what are you referring to there? I'm referring to Valium. What is Valium? I think it's a benzo. It's like Xanax. When, if ever, would you take Valium in relation to a freak off? If I had anxiety, if I just felt like my heart was racing too much, I'm not a fan. Picking up with the gray bubble, yeah. Driver bringing. I call you. Pausing there. When Sean says driver bringing, what do you understand him to be referring to? The Valium. And whose driver would bring you the Valium? Sean's driver. Who was Sean's driver, if you know? At the time, is Fahim, I think, but I'm not. The years I don't really know. Was Fahim one of Sean's driver during the time that you were in the relationship with Sean? Yes. The last blue bubble, you can read that blue bubble. You are truly the most extraordinary man. I love you so much. You make me a better woman, daughter, sister, and person. I hope you always know how much I love you and appreciate you. Thank you for always showing me love and happiness the way that it's supposed to be. Can't wait until you have a baby. Can't wait until we have a baby of our own to celebrate Father's Day. I love you with all my heart. Happy Father's Day again. Smiley face. Why did you send that message to Sean? Because I loved him and it was Father's Day. What relation, if any, did the messages before about freak offs have to this about Father's Day? They're completely separate. We can take that down. Miss Gavin, pull up exhibits. Miss Ventura, what's the date of this communication? January 7th, 2017. If you can tell from this page, who sent this communication? I did. Who did you send it to? To Sean. Nothing good comes out of FOs anymore. You treat me like you're Ike Turner. What does FOs refer to? Freak offs. When you told Sean he treats you like Ike Turner, what were you referring to? Abusive, controlling? What specifically did he do to be abusive and controlling on this date or just in general? In general, just he was actually physically abusive. That's been said. He put me down a lot. As much as I was built up, I was put down quite a bit. And that's also just like the sheer embarrassment. Like he treated me in front of other people, like how he treated me in front of other people. Okay, Your Honor. It is 12:30. I just want to check and see if the court wanted to take a lunch break. Okay. Court says if you can come to a good landing place, we can do a break. This is a good landing place, Your Honor. I'm changing the topic. Okay, thank you. All right. So everybody goes to lunch break. Now, during the lunch break, which we know it's when a lot of the attorneys are having kind of most of their conversations, there was a conversation and dispute about evidence. Ms. Slavic for the government, for example, says when they were referencing specific evidence, B-9409, the defense proposed adding over 10 additional pages regarding a conversation between the defendant, Ms. Ventura, about, it starts with an M, I can't say the word, MAS Nation. Okay. The government submits that this additional conversation is neither explanatory nor relevant, to the section that the government proposes admitting. The defense basically argued that they wanted to add context, especially with messages that were just shown about verbiage and conversation that Cassie was having with Diddy. So they went back and forth, and then after that there was an attorney for Mia's attorney basically showed up and made his name known for the record, to basically reiterate, that he's there for his client, for Mia, and wanted to, provide emotional support, but not necessarily, intervene in the trial or give any type of or impact her testimony. So he was there for that specific reason. So he gives his argument to the court. And then after that happened, counsel for a Jane Doe comes in. And counsel for Jane Doe identifies himself as a Lindsay Lewis of Draddle and Lewis, counsel of Jane Doe. Okay. That attorney basically said, I'm concerned about my own client's emotional state during testimony. She has a very serious emotional breakdown moments in preparation for this trial. And it is critical to me that I'm able to have candid, honest, and open conversations with her throughout the process. So, I mean, these attorneys for each individual Jane Doe and pseudonyms are coming in, giving an argument about how they're there to just be emotional supports for their clients. And then from here, they move on to Wigdor, who we know Wigdor is for Cassie Ventura, and also there to provide support. So there was a lot happening during this lunch break. You had attorneys for the victims and for the witnesses coming through. Basically, each witness and victim sounds like they had their attorney kind of talk to the judge, and the defense is kind of like making sure that there's not going to be a rule violation, or there's no counseling, that they're just wanting to be there for emotional support, and this is what was happening around that time. So they get back from lunch break and the questioning proceeds from Ms. Johnson for the government. Ms. Ventura, I would like to show you a few images now. Okay. Do you see that exhibit, Miss Ventura? Yes. Without saying the name of individuals depicted in Government Exhibits 2A-404, do you recognize that individual? Yes. How do you know that individual? She's been a friend of mine for a long time and also worked for Sean for some years. Is that a fair and accurate photo of the individuals depicted in Government Exhibit 2A-404? Yeah. Okay. So that gets offered as an exhibit. No objection from the defense. Exhibits are admitted. Ms. Ventura, you've already been referring to the individual depicted in Government 2A-404 as Mia. But moving forward, I would ask that you continue to refer to her as Mia. Okay, thank you. Just one moment. More exhibits are published. Ms. Ventura, do you see that exhibit? Yes. Do you recognize who's depicted um, in that exhibit? Yes. Who is that? That's Jules. And at what type of event is this still image from? This is during a freak off. Have you seen this image as part of a larger video? Yes. And where was the video found, if you know? Off of the devices that I gave to the government. When you gave those devices to the government, were all of those devices working at the time? No, they were all broken. And when had they been broken? How long had they been broken for? For some years. Yeah. Okay. More exhibits are shown. Miss Ventura, do you recognize who's depicted in this image? Yeah, that is me and Jules, I think. Is this a frame from a longer video that you've watched? Yeah. Okay. What was the occasion where you were with Jules in this video? Also a freak off. And on whose devices was that recovered? From one of my devices I gave the government. One of the broken ones? Yes. Okay. Miss Ventura, more exhibits are offered. Do you recognize who is depicted in Government Exhibit BX-206B? Yeah, that's me and Dave. Okay, what are you and Dave doing? We are in a freak off. And is this exhibit a still image from a video? Yes. And the video is from the same source as the previous exhibit. Same source, broken something. Okay, you can bring that down. More exhibits are shown. Ms. Ventura, do you recognize who is depicted in Government's Exhibit BX-208B? Yes, it's me and Greg. Do you see a photograph of Greg earlier today? Yes. Did we see a photograph of Greg earlier today? We did. And is this another still image taken from one of the videos recovered on one of your broken devices? Yeah. Yes. Okay. More exhibits are offered. Ms. Ventura, do you recognize who's depicted in Government Exhibit BX601 CP? Yep, that's me. And at what event? What are you doing in this photograph? I'm sitting on the couch at a freak off by myself. And what is between you and the couch? A big cover, like a bed cover sheet? What kind of linen? Linen? Yeah. And what's on the floor? The same thing. What are you wearing on your feet? Very high shoes. And what's next to you, if you can see it on the side? Table. Looks like water, bottle of water. You mentioned drinking water a lot at the freak offs earlier. Why did you need to drink water? To stay hydrated from all the partying? When you say partying, what do you mean by partying? Using drugs, drinking alcohol? Okay. And more exhibits are offered. And that's the last document in that binder for the court and for the defendant. Ms. Ventura, do you recognize who's depicted in this exhibit? Yep, that's me. Okay. And what's on your skin in this exhibit? Oil. And what are you doing in this exhibit? Just standing there next to the bed. Was this taken at a freak off, if you know? Yes. And what's behind you on the nightstand? Candle. Looks like some tops from the different lubricants. Okay, you could take that down, Miss Gavin. And just for clarity of the record, Judge, I'm not sure if I mentioned what I offered the BX series, that the government would offer all those series under sealed. No objection from the defense. Court says, all right, they will be admitted. I'm going to turn to a different topic now. You've testified both yesterday and today. Sean physically hurt you during your relationship. Do you recall that testimony? Yes. Approximately when in your relationship was Sean first physical with you? Pretty early on, within like the first year of us dating. And after that time, how frequently was he physical with you? It was frequently enough. It was a thing that became pretty common eventually. Who, if any, of Sean's employees do you recall being present for Sean being physical with you? Objection from the defense. Objection to physical being vague. The court. Ms. Johnson, could you rephrase or ask a clarifying question? Sure. Ms. Ventura, you have testified that Sean was physical with you before, right? Yes. And you testified that includes what actions does being physical include? Being punched, kicked, dragged, mushed. If I refer to those actions collectively as physical abuse, will you know what I'm talking about? Yes. Who, if any, of Sean's employees do you recall being present for Sean's physical abuse of you? There were, hold up a sec from the court. I think the objection was for lack of time frame. I think we need more specificity on the question. Okay. Starting at the beginning of your relationship, Miss Ventura, which approximately was 2007, is that right? Yes. Who, if any, of Sean's employees do you recall being present or witnessing Sean's physical abuse of you? Security. Who from security, if you remember? At that point, definitely his driver Malik. That was in New York. It was a long time ago. I don't know exactly who was there. Okay, what about later in your relationship, sort of in the middle of your relationship? Same question to you. Who, if any, of Sean's employees do you recall being present or witnessing physical abuse of you? At that point, it would have been some of his assistants and his security as well. Who specifically, if you recall from Sean's assistants, witnessed physical abuse? Mia. Who else? There were other assistants that I know definitely quit because they told me that they didn't want to. Objection from the defense. Grounds? Hearsay. We're not offering it for its truth, Your Honor. We're offering to understand Miss Ventura's state of mind. I will sustain the objection. The answer was non responsive. Maybe ask a fresh question and we can get an answer. Miss Ventura, are you aware if any of Sean's employees quit after witnessing physical abuse? Yes. Of you? Yes. Which employee quit? There was an employee that quit named George Kaplan. You also mentioned that around the middle of your relationship, security witnessed physical abuse, Sean's physical abuse of you. Who from security was aware of, present for, or witnessed physical abuse? Bonds, Uncle Polly, D-Rock. Miss Ventura, did you see pictures of those individuals yesterday? I did. Okay. Miss Ventura, did you see pictures of those individuals yesterday? I did. Okay. At the end of your relationship, Your Honor, Mrs. Stavio speaks. Objection to just the beginning and the end of the relationship. Could we have some more specificity than this? I think that's fair. Isolated in terms of actual time frame. Yes, Your Honor, says Miss Johnson. Okay. Starting in approximately 2015 through 2018, would you call that about the end of your relationship, Miss Ventura? Yeah. So during that time period of, who of Sean's employees do you recall being present for or witnessing his physical abuse of you? Security staff, and management. Okay, let's take those one by one. Who from security do you recall witnessing or being present for the abuse? At that point, D-Rock. What about staff? At that point, well, just before that, Mia was no longer there, but she had seen, and I'm trying to think of who else. I just lost it. You mentioned management? Yeah. What management from where? The management that worked for us, James Cruz witnessed some of the violence. Do you ever, did you ever initiate a physical fight with Sean? I did. If you did, in those cases, what, if any, injuries did you see on Sean after you initiated a fight? I didn't see anything after the fight. Were you ever injured after Sean was physically abusive with you? Yes. How often? Anytime he was physically there, anytime he was physically there would be at least some trace, a bruise or something. What, if anything, did you do to recover from these times? Recovery was days worth. I would just kind of hide out for that period. Where would you hide? Hotel rooms. Your Honor, Objection to the general nature of these questions from the defense. If we can have some more specificity, it would be very helpful. Let's have a brief sidebar. Court asks what the objection was. And defense basically says that this questioning has been going on for some time. The questions are related to general instances of physical abuse. And we're talking about an 11-year relationship, and it's not clear to us what instances of abuse that we're talking about here. So it's difficult for us to follow the general nature of the questioning and be able to respond to this. If there are instances of physical abuse that the government wants to question her about, then they should do that. But this general questioning over and over and over is cumulative. It's speculative, and we ask that they try to pin down the year, at least a year that they're talking about. Okay. So, in the court kind of gives the government some advice about the questioning, specifically saying that it makes very difficult to understand which events and the witnesses is speaking about, but it is probably some clarification that we can provide to help the witness isolate which events she's addressed. So they go back and forth on this, on speculation and time frame. Let's get back to the questioning, because we'll be here forever if we go through everything that the court said and the judge said. So let's get to it. Ms. Ventura, I would like to direct your attention to the first few years of your relationship with Mr. Combs, approximately 2007 to 2008. Is that right? Yeah. During the time, in what city was the first instance of physical violence? New York. Where were you earlier that evening before the instance we're about to talk about of physical violence? We were eating at a restaurant called Philippe. And can you please describe what happened at that restaurant? There was a downstairs, like a private eating area, and Sean and his friends, just a lot of different people came to the dinner. There was a brief moment where caught Sean like flirting with somebody. I think there was another person. I looked at me and saw that I saw it. I shrugged my shoulders like whatever. And then when we got in the car, he knocked me around and was just really mean. When you said he knocked you around in the car, who is he? Sean. And who else, if anyone, was present in the vehicle when you got in? Security driver. And when you say knocked you around, can you be more specific about what Sean did? He hit me in the side of my head and I fell to the floor of the car, and we were in his Escalade, just shook me up and scared me quite a bit, to the point where I just was trying to get out of the car, and I finally got out of the car. How did you feel after that instance of violence? I was just shocked. I didn't necessarily understand what happened and why he was so angry, except for the little bit that he was said, as he was like hitting me in the car. Yeah, I just went home, kind of hid out after that. Directing your attention on January of 2009, do you recall attending an event at the Ace of Diamonds in Los Angeles in January of 2009? Yes. Why were you at the Ace of Diamonds? I was there with Sean. He was hosting a party, I believe. Were you drinking at this party? Yeah. What happened, if anything, as you left the party? As we left the party, I was speaking to a producer, music, about music, and Sean called me an S and or a B or something, and we got in the car and I punched him in the face. Did you make contact with Sean's face? I believe so. How hard did you hit him? As hard as you could hit anybody when you're drunk like that. I don't know. Had you hit Sean before that time? Not that I recall, no. Did you see any injuries on Sean's face after you hit him? No. What was Sean's response after you hit him? His whole demeanor just switched over. I remember his eyes were black. It was just like we were in an Escalade, but the two sitting in the middle, the two seats that are separate from each other, the windows down, we had a friend kind of like following us back to the house. So all that went down with the windows down, and then after I punched him, he attacked me, and I was basically like underneath the back seat in the Escalade, just trying to cover my face. Why were you trying to cover your face? Because Sean was stomping on it with his foot? How long did Sean stomp on your face with his foot? The ride back to the house was short, but I mean the whole ride was was a fight until we got there. Probably like a 10 minutes up the hill from the party. When you say the whole ride was a fight, what part of the fight happened for most of the ride? It was just me trying to defend myself and cover myself up. I was just being I just never experienced anything like that before where I just was getting really really badly beaten. Yeah. Where was the car going while you were getting beaten in the car? The car was going back to Sean's house that he was renting at that time. When you got to Sean's home, what did you do? I took off running. I got off the car and started running down the street. What happened after you took off and ran? Pretty sure security caught up with me and I was brought back to the house. Who from security do you remember catching up with you? Roger Bonds. When you were brought back to the house, what happened at the house? At the house, I went into Sean's bedroom downstairs, and I saw my face. I just didn't look like myself at all. Just knots and bleeding, swollen everything. I looked horrible. And then shortly after, Sean came and he saw me. And I think I was vomiting when he came in, and he kind of came to like the person that he switched over to was now gone and like freaking out at the sight. After Sean saw your face inside of the home, what happened next? He basically said that I had to go sneak out of the house, out on the back with security, and go to a hotel and just stay there. So I went to the London Hotel on Sunset. Okay. In Los Angeles? Yes. And just to back up to where you were in the car, who else, if anyone, was in the car with you and Sean during the drive where he was stomping on your face? During the drive, I remember an assistant and the security driver, Bonds, the driver security. And Bonds is the same person who ran after you when you ran away. Yeah. Did you say yes? Yes, sorry. And you testified that you went to Sean, told you to go to the London Hotel after he saw you. Is that right? Yeah, he had security bring me there and like sneak into the hotel. When you say sneak in, what do you mean by that? I was just covered up because nobody could see me like that. When you say covered up, what part of your body was covered up? Mostly my face, my head. Approximately how long were you at the London Hotel? I stayed that week and about a week, maybe a little more. Did you want to stay at the London Hotel? Um, no. The next day, I was trying to go home to my mom. Okay. Okay. Did you tell anyone you wanted to go home to your mom? I did. Who did you tell? I told security. I told the assistant that came and brought me ice cream. Who from security, if you remember, did you tell? Bonds. Okay. And the assistant who brought you security, did you recall the name of that individual? Genevieve? Besides security and Genevieve, who else, if anyone, worked for Sean, came to check on you while you were in the hotel? I don't really remember. I think the only other person would be Derek Roach, stylist. Objection from the defense. That's overruled from the court. Okay, while you were at the hotel, what contact, if any, did you have with Sean? He would just check in and was the one who definitely said I couldn't go home. Did you tell Sean you wanted to leave? I don't remember. I'm sure that I know I said that I wanted to go home. So I guess, yeah, I did. And what did Sean say when you said you wanted to go home? Just absolutely not. Did you feel that you could leave the London hotel? No. And why not? Well, I don't think I would have gotten out of there smoothly. It was not safe. I didn't have just the resources I needed to get out and move and not have anybody stop me. When you say not safe, can you explain what you mean by that? That I felt not safe, right? Like you said leaving wouldn't be safe. Can you explain what you mean by not safe? It wouldn't be safe. I mean, I understood at that point that it was still early, but I understood Sean's capabilities, his access to guns, like, and the threats, and he made prior to that. Yeah, I was privy. And when you were taken to the hotel after the assault, did you want to go to the hotel? No. In fact, I remember wanting to stay at the house, but I was not allowed to. And you mentioned that you had to cover your face when you entered the hotel that first time. hmm Who, if anyone, told you to cover your face? Sean. He wanted me to get in there without people seeing me in security. When you say security, are you still referring to bonds? Yes. You mentioned that you said you wanted to stay at the house. Who didn't allow you to stay at the house? Sean didn't. Are you aware of Sean? Are you aware if Sean's assault after the club was publicly reported? I don't. I know that there was a blind item. Did she object? Objection. Cassie heard an objection from the defense. Sorry. Yes. Court speaks. On what grounds? It's overruled. Ms. Ventura, I'll re-ask the question. Are you aware if this incident was publicly reported? I'm only aware that there was a blind item on the internet without our names that describe exactly what happened from someone's point of view. And who, if anyone, raised the blind item to you? My mother. Okay. Can you describe the conversation with your mother? Objection from the defense. We're not offering this for its truth, court says overruled. A conversation that I had with my mother? Yes. She was pretty straightforward and she asked me, and I said no, it was before FaceTime was really popular, so I could still hide. When you say your mom asked you, what did she ask you? She said that she had read an item on the internet and she wanted to know if it was me, and she sent it to me. And what did you tell her when she asked you that question? I said, nope, it's not me. Was that truthful? No. Can you explain to the jury why you did not tell your mom the truth? I didn't tell my mom the truth because I was ashamed, but also felt like at that point I didn't know what was going to happen, and I also didn't want to put my mom in danger, my mother in danger for knowing anything of that magnitude. When were you allowed to leave the hotel? When Sean asked me to go with him to the studio? How did you find out that Sean wanted you to go with him to the studio? Staff. Somebody reached out and told me to get ready. Approximately how long were you at the London hotel? I would say somewhere between 7 to 10 days. And when the staff reached out to you and said Sean wanted you in the studio, where did you go? Went to Chalice, the studio? Is that a recording studio? Yes. And when you left the London hotel to go to Chalice, what, if any, injuries were still visible on your face? You could still see my eyes were like bloodshot on both sides. And I still had some bruising around my mouth and my eyes, but I wore sunglasses, and I just put makeup on. Okay. Ms. Gavin, could you please pull up exhibits for identification? Ms. Ventura, do you recognize the individuals depicted in 2A-502? Yes. Who is that? That's a makeup artist named Mila Morales. How do you know Mila? I worked with Mila when I was maybe 15 or 16. We did Vibe magazine together. She just kind of became a bit of a big sister in the industry to me. Is this a fair and accurate photograph of Mila Morales? Yes. The government offers exhibits 2A-502. No objection from the defense. Miss Ventura, did there come a time when you stayed with Mila after a physical fight with Sean? Yes. Do you know the year that this happened? I don't remember the exact year now. Can you approximate where in your relationship it occurred? In the first half? In what city did this occur? In Los Angeles. Before you stayed with Mila, how did the night begin? I was staying at the Beverly Hills Hotel and was with some girlfriends. We had dinner and I went back to my room. And one of my girlfriends that had left called us back and said that there was a party at Prince's house and he was going to perform. And so she invited us and we went. So was there any discussion about going to Prince's house? With Sean or, among your girlfriends, was there any discussion of going to Prince's house? Yes. What was the discussion? What was the nature of the discussion? Just that it would be fun. He's performing probably in his basement. And yeah, just like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Did you talk to Sean about it? No. Why not? Because he definitely would have not let me go. Objection from the defense. Court says to sustain. When you were at the Beverly Hills Hotel that night, who, if anyone else, were you staying with? I was staying on my own, but Mila had laid down on the couch to take a nap, so she didn't join us to the party. Was Sean in LA at this time? He was. Did you and your girlfriends end up going to the party? Yes, we did. You testified that you didn't discuss going to the party with Sean. Is that right? Yeah. Based on your years of dating Sean at that point, this is the first half of your relationship. Is that correct? Yes. What would you think Sean would have said? Objection from the defense. If you had asked. Objection from the defense. I think there is a clarifying question to ask, but I'm not sure that that is the one. Ms. Ventura, at this point, have you been dating Sean for a few years? Yes. What did you think Sean would do if you asked to go to the party? I thought he would say no. Okay, when you were at the party, what happened? We arrived and went downstairs. There weren't that many people there, and Prince wasn't performing yet. So we were just there, and I saw some executives from BT. I saw different people that I knew through Sean, and then suddenly I heard that he was there. And when you say he, who were you talking about? Sean. You mentioned you went to the party with your girlfriends. Have we spoken about any of the girlfriends that were present at this trial? One of them. Who was that? Natalie. Anyone else, if you remember? And Mia. Okay. When Sean arrived at the party, what did you do? I left. I heard that he was there, and then I caught a glimpse of him, so I ran as fast as I could to the front yard. Why did you run out as fast as you could? Because I could tell he was angry. I knew he was angry at me. How could you tell he was angry? His facial expressions. And he came after me, so yeah. When you ran out of the party, who else, if anyone, ran out with you? Mia, I believe, ran out with me. And what, if anything, do you remember about what happened after you ran out of the party? It's a little fuzzy, but the most distinct memory I have is like running and falling into the bushes in the front yard. And like, I don't know if at that point he was over me. I have no idea. I just remember falling in the bushes and then getting up quickly, getting in the car to get back to the hotel. And did you see Sean again after Prince's house? Yes, he came to the Beverly Hills Hotel where I was staying. And you mentioned earlier that Mila was in your hotel room. Is that right? Yeah. She was asleep on the couch in the living room. And she was asleep in the couch in the living room. And when Sean came to the hotel, what happened? When he came to the hotel, he just burst in the room, and I didn't want Mila to see or hear anything. So we went in the bedroom, and we were in a bad fight. He beat me up in that room. He was throwing luggage at me, just calling me all kinds of names. After the hotel, where did you go? After the hotel, Mila helped me pack up, and we went and stayed at her house in LA. How long were you there? I would say for about 3 to 4 days, maybe. What, if any, visible injuries did you have from the fight with Sean? Bruising on my face, knots on my head, just like it was like a little bit similar whenever I would get hurt. Okay. More exhibits are pulled up. Ms. Ventura, do you recognize who's depicted in government's exhibit 2A-501? Yes. Who is that? That's Kid Cudi, as people know him. And how do you know Mr. Kid Cudi? We dated in 2011. We worked together for a brief period. Is this a fair and accurate photograph of Mr. Cudi? Yes. Okay. Government offers exhibit. No objection from the defense. Ms. Ventura, you mentioned that Mr. Cudi is known by other names. If I call him Kid Cudi during this testimony, will you know who I'm talking about? Yes. And directing your attention to December of 2011, what was your relationship with Kid Cudi at this time? At that time, we just formally met around then, just before then. And we were working together and friends. And then we started dating. When you started dating Scott, did you tell Sean about Scott? No. What was the status of your relationship with Sean at the time? We were always up and down at different times, and it was definitely a time where we were not in the greatest place. Did there come a time when Sean found out about Scott? Yes. How did he find out? How did Sean find out? He actually found out during a freak off in LA. He went through my phone, and I believe he saw an email between me and one of his staff members. And who was the staff member whose email Sean saw? Capricorn Clark. And what about those emails would have alerted Sean to your relationship with Scott? It was about bringing my toiletry back to his house or something like that the next day. Okay, take those down, Miss Gavin. After Sean went through your phone and saw those emails, what was his reaction? I just remember putting like a wine bottle opener between his fingers and like lunging it at me, just a hole. Like his eyes blacked out, super angry, and I just had to get out of there. It was actually another time I was able to get out of a freak off. When you were able to get out of there, where did you go? I went back to, I had another hotel that I was staying at, and went and I had a burner phone and I went to get the phone and I called Scott and he came and picked me up. What's a burner phone? It's not my, it's not your real number. It's just a phone you use. Why did you have a burner phone at that time? Because I was dating Scott and I didn't want Sean to find out. And before you left the hotel room where you were with Sean, when he lunged at you with the wine opener, did he make any contact with you? No. How much do you remember of what happened after Sean found out about Scott? I remember like the order of the day. It was a very long, drawn out day. Some of the pieces are a little bit fuzzy. So starting with Scott, you just testified that when you got back to your hotel room, you used your burner phone to call Scott. Is that right? Correct. When did you next see Scott? Um, when he came and picked me up, I think it was Wilshire Boulevard, just in the middle of the street. Where did you go after Scott picked you up? After he picked me up, we went to his house in the hills, pulling up for identification for the court, more exhibits. Ms. Ventura, do you recognize who's depicted in the government exhibit 2A-406? Yes, that's Capricorn Clark. Is that Capricorn Clark whose emails you referenced earlier? Yes. And how do you know Capricorn? We worked together. She worked with Sean, and that's how I met her. She went through, I think, a Sean John campaign, and then started to help me with my artistry and stuff. Did Capricorn work with Sean or for Sean? For Sean. And if this is a fair and accurate photograph of Capricorn Clark, yes. Okay. Government exhibit admitted, no objection from the defense. Miss Ventura, what if anything do you recall about interacting with Capricorn that day after you met up with Scott? Well, we reached out to her because she obviously knew about the relationship with Scott and just explained it to her everything that had happened. She came over to Scott's house. After you met with Capricorn, where did you go next? After I met with Capricorn, I ended up going to Sean's house. Why did you go to Sean's house? Cap said he just wanted to talk. And, the better, I just felt like the better to resolve it in the moment was to go there and just speak to him. So I went. When you say you went to Sean's house, which of his homes did you go to? One of the homes he was renting, it was actually the one that you showed yesterday. The photograph I showed you yesterday, which is, for the record, Government Exhibit 2B-101 and 102. What happened when you arrived at Sean's house? When I arrived at his house, there was the house where his bedroom was on the top floor, the same as the entry. So I went into his room and he was irate. He was so angry. And when I was in the room, he told me about the videos that he had and he was going to release and how he was going to hurt Scott and I. So that was all said there. And then I ultimately just left. When Sean mentioned videos that he had that he was going to release, what videos is he referring to? To freak off videos of me. What happened when you were leaving? When I was leaving, I was more than ready to go. Sean, kicked me in my back on my way out. So I just had a big bruise on my back. I fell to the floor and I just left and then left. What, if any, injuries did you have from being kicked in the back? I had a large bruise on my back. It's fuzzy. The day is fuzzy, but I had bruises in other places on my body. I just remember that one significantly because he literally kicked me with the bottom of his foot in my back. After leaving Sean's house, where did you eventually go? I eventually went to my hotel first to get my stuff, the hotel that had the burner phone. What was the condition of your hotel room? It was just torn up. There was somebody peed all over the floor in the bathroom. My clothes were everywhere. All the furniture was turned upside down. Somebody pooped in the toilet and didn't flush it. It was just gross. After the hotel room, where did you go next? I went to another hotel. This was just before Christmas, so it was like literally the night before I left to go home to Connecticut for Christmas. And I stayed at the Sunset Marquise with Scott. Okay, Miss Gavin, can you please pull up exhibits for evidence? Miss Ventura, start from the from line. Who sent this email? Me, Veronica Bang, an alias that I use. Who did you send this email to? To my mom in Capricorn? And when is the date this email was sent? December 23rd, 2011. Where were you when you sent this email? I was actually on my flight to Boston, Connecticut for Christmas. Can you read the contents of the email? Threats. The threats that have been made towards me by Sean Puffy Combs are that he's going to release 2 explicit S tapes of me, one on Christmas Day and maybe before or right after, another one sometime soon after that. He also said that he will be having someone hurt me and Kid Cudi physically. He made a point that it wouldn't be by his hands. He actually said he'd be out of the country when it happened. Okay. More government exhibits are pulled up. Miss Ventura, do you recognize who's depicted in these photos? Yep, that's me. Where are these photos taken? They were taken at my mom's house. And approximately when were these photos taken? When I got to Connecticut I'm sorry for interrupting you. It's okay. Are these true and accurate photos taken by your mom from when you got home to Connecticut in December 2011? Yes. Okay. Government exhibits are published, no objection from the defense, and they're entered. Miss Ventura, how long after you arrived in Connecticut were these photos taken approximately? Within the first 6 to 12 hours of being there right away because my mom knew? And you testify that your mom took these photographs? What led to your mom taking photographs? She asked me if I had been hurt and I told her the truth. Yeah. And what, if any, injuries are visible on the photographs? There's bruising. There's a dark bruise on my left lower back butt area where I was kicked, and then another one in my thigh. When you say you were kicked, is that the kick in the back you describe? Yeah, that was the kick in the back where I fell to the ground before I left the house. And that's before you left Sean's house. Before I left Sean's house in Los Angeles. Were you entirely honest with your mom about the physical abuse that you were experiencing when you spoke to her in December of 2011? No, I believe I told her that it was the first time. Did you tell her about the freak-offs? No. Why didn't you tell your mom about everything? I couldn't hurt her like that. I just wasn't there with it. I wasn't ready. And I was also just terrified. Like, it's not normal. What's not normal? Just constantly being bruised up by a person that you love or that says they love you. Like, you can't justify it to anyone, just especially not your mom. Is it possible for me to take a break? Um, do you need to take a break? Of Court says, of course. We'll take a 10-minute break. Yes, I appreciate it. Okay, so they take a 10-minute break. Okay, guys, so this is again day 3 of Cassie Ventura on direct, and that would be May 14th, 2025. So we will continue with another part. This video is already 2 hours long, so just give you guys an update, just giving you guys like an idea, so it gives me some time to kind of edit it. Today is June 19th, and I actually just received the transcripts for June 18th, so I have to do a video on that. So just give you guys an idea of how the breakdown of this. Make sure you guys are checking the description box, because I that's kind of where I'm putting them in order for you guys to follow through. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll see you guys later. Bye now.